I went from 250 pounds down to 165 pounds in about 5 months. And I thought that I was doing everything right. But something was deeply wrong and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I was hungry all the time, and it's the kind of hunger where you're just thinking about food constantly, where you'd eat a meal and then immediately after you start thinking about the next one. I felt anxious all the time, tired all the time, and then the music that I loved just sounded awful as well. Social situations were in the bin. I used to hate everyone around me. I used to be snappy. I used to just be angry. And I remember thinking that I just genuinely have no love for life left. So it's like a film that comes over your entire life, and everything feels harder than it should do. And you just become a different version of yourself. If you're watching this, and there's a good chance you know exactly what I'm describing, because that's the skinny fat trap that nobody talks about. And I'll be honest, it's probably the exact same reason that you look exactly the same despite all your hard work and effort in the gym. So in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what this is, why it's keeping you skinny fat, and exactly what to do about it so you can start building the physique you've actually been working towards this whole time. And also, just quickly, I've put together a free skinny fat quiz below that tells you exactly where you're at right now. So it'll only take you about 2 minutes to fill out, and it'll give you a clear answer of what you should do next. So you've just lost a significant amount of weight, and now you're trying to push through this sort of plateau that you're experiencing right now to try and get even leaner, to get a better looking physique. So you increase the deficit, you add more cardio, maybe you start fasting, you start eating foods that hit your macros but just taste like nothing because you get more volume for the foods that you're eating. I'm talking like egg whites, huge lettuce bowls, kilos of Greek yogurt without any sweetener in, which just tastes like sour boy slop. And you're still starving all the time, despite what you're doing on paper, you're just not really getting anywhere. The scale's barely moving, and when it does, it just stalls again for another week. Your training feels flat, it feels heavy, you're not really getting anywhere with it, you're not progressing. In fact, your weights are actually going down despite how hard you're trying. And in the gym, you just feel like you're going through the motions. And then when it comes to your diet, you crack, you binge, you feel awful about it, then you get back on track, and then the same thing happens a few days later or even weeks. And that's what diet fatigue does to a person. And your body's been under sustained stress for a long period of time, and now it's starting to fight back against you. So the biggest reason why you're still skinny fat and you've hit this plateau is diet fatigue. And here's why this specifically keeps you skinny fat. So most guys think the answer to getting a great physique is to just get leaner and leaner. But here's what's actually happening. So diet fatigue destroys your training, and your training is the whole point. So if you can't push hard in the gym, you can't build muscle. And if you can't build muscle, you stay skinny fat no matter how lean you get. So here's what you should actually do. You should just stop trying to lose weight, right? You just move to maintenance for a couple of weeks, just enough to let your body breathe, to get rid of all of this diet fatigue. So whether that's emotionally, psychologically, physically, it's going to literally impact you on loads of different areas. And then once you've done that for a few weeks, you go into a very, very small calorie surplus. And what's going to happen after you do this is that your hunger is going to start to normalize. You stop thinking about food constantly. Your training is going to start to feel better. You start moving weights that actually feel like you're moving them rather than immovable objects that are bolted to the floor. Your mood's going to slowly lift. Your energy is going to come back, and that film over your life is going to start to clear. And if you're wondering whether you should take a break from the gym during this phase, no, you shouldn't. You should keep going to the gym, and you should push every single set that you can to failure, and make sure that you start to lock your training in once again. But you want to just start at a lower volume than you think you need. So I'd recommend around 5 to 6 sets per muscle group. And then as you start to feel better, as your body starts to recover and you feel like you've got more energy. So like I said, I'd start at 5 to 6 sets, 3 to 4 days in a week. Like I said, when it starts to feel good again, that's when you move to maybe 5 to 6 days a week to accommodate the new volume that you're going to move to. So maybe you move from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 sets, and then you increase it to 8 to 10 sets. And then anything from here is going to hit the law of diminishing returns. So once you get to around 10 sets per muscle group, you can keep pushing over time, but I'd recommend you just sit around that, because 20 sets of a muscle group per week isn't necessarily going to be double the gains as 10 sets, because like I said here, we want to make sure that we're training to failure and we're really pushing the training as much as we can. So this is the key lesson that I want you to learn. If you stop the cut right now, move to maintenance, then move into a very, very small surplus for a long period of time, you'd build muscle faster, you would feel better, and you would stay on track easier, and you would escape the skinny fat look in less time than if you keep going the way you're going. And this is because the physique you're after requires muscle. Muscle requires hard training, and hard training requires fuel and recovery, which your body currently doesn't have. And because you've got a lot of diet fatigue at the minute, you're not doing any of these. So if you keep going, you're actually going to get further and further away from the goal that you're after. And like I said, I know this because I've lived your exact experience that you're having right now. I see it with people day in and day out. And I'm here to tell you that eating more and training harder is the fastest route to get to the body that you're after. So if you're not sure what you're actually experiencing right now, so whether you're experiencing diet fatigue or this is just a normal part of the diet that you're doing right now, then that's exactly what I help skinny fat guys with. So if that's something you want help with as well, then there's a link to work with me in the description below. Also, fill out the free skinny fat quiz. It's going to tell you based on where you are right now, what you should be focusing on next. But I'll be honest, knowing the skinny fat trap is only the half of it. And the other half is what's keeping you stuck before you even get into the skinny fat trap in the first place. And it's the belief that you've been carrying about your body and what's actually possible for you. So that's what this next video is about right here. So watch it next before you click off and go and watch some random brain rot content.